Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a problem that I think every curious person runs into. You want to understand a huge, important topic, but you don't know where to start. You're just lost in a sea of information. Okay, let's get right into it. You have this desire, right? You want to understand the big, foundational ideas. You think, I'll just go straight to the source. But let's be honest, a lot of those original texts are, well, they're dense. They're difficult, and sometimes they're just a real slog to get through.
And this feeling? It's captured perfectly right here, by a Reddit user trying to get through the 17th century philosopher Thomas Hobbes and his massive book, Leviathan. It's such a classic dilemma, isn't it? The ideas are absolutely essential, but the book itself feels like a brick wall.
So, what do? Where do you even begin when the front door to a great mind seems locked shut? How do you find the key?
Well, it turns out one of the best answers out there comes from Oxford University Press. They actually created an entire series of books designed to solve this exact problem, not just for one topic, but for hundreds.
They're called, and this is pretty fitting, very short introductions. The whole concept is so simple but so powerful. You take one subject, you find a world-class expert on it, and you have them boil down its absolute essence into a short, easy-to-read guide. And the scale of this project is just, it's incredible. We are talking about more than 700 different titles. It's basically a whole library that covers pretty much any subject you can imagine, from ancient history to cutting-edge science, and yeah, everything in between. So, what's the secret sauce? It all comes down to the authors. These aren't just summaries cranked out by anybody. No, each and every book is written by a leading authority. You know, the actual professors, the top historians, the scientists who have spent their entire lives studying that one specific thing.
But let's be real. How well does this actually work for a subject that's genuinely tough? Let's put this whole idea to the test. Let's go back to our friend on Reddit and their problem, the philosopher Thomas Hobbes.
So who was this guy anyway? I mean, Hobbes is a giant. He lived through the absolute chaos of the English Civil War, and his ideas about power, about society, and about what human beings are really like, well, they totally shaped modern political thinking.
But here's the thing. Hobbes often gets boiled down to this simple caricature. He's the gloomy guy who thought life was nasty, brutish, and short, and that we needed an all-powerful dictator. And this is exactly where the VSI is a game changer. It immediately pushes back on those myths and shows you a much deeper thinker.
The key, and it's always the key, is context. The VSI doesn't just give you a list of Hobbes's ideas, it shows you why he had them. He was living in a country that was literally tearing itself apart. He was trying to solve the problem of how we can all live together without descending into total chaos. His philosophy was a direct answer to the world burning around him.
So here's the really crucial part. These books give you a roadmap. Instead of just throwing you into the deep end of some dense philosophical text, they give you a clear, structured path to follow.
And this structured journey is what makes it all click. First, you start with the man himself, his life, his times. Then, you get into the nitty-gritty of his work, his thoughts on science, politics, everything. And finally, you zoom out and look at his legacy and how people have argued about his ideas for centuries. You get this complete 360-degree view, but you never feel lost. And don't just take my word for it. Experts totally agree that this works. As the philosopher Arish Abizadeh says, this kind of structure makes it the perfect entry point. It gives you that all-important first taste that is so hard to get on your own. Okay, so this approach clearly works for a heavy hitter like Hobbes. But what's really amazing is that this is the key to the entire series. The exact same principle of having an expert guide you through a clear structure applies to a whole universe of knowledge.
I mean, just look at the range here. It's wild. Whether you're curious about something historical like the Spanish Civil War, something scientific like pandemics, or something really abstract like consciousness, there is an expert-led guide just waiting to make it make sense.
And you know what's really cool? The experts who write for the series are also huge fans of it. The legendary historian Paul Preston said the VSI on the Spanish Civil War glitters with insights that even he hadn't thought about, while still being perfect for a total beginner. I mean, that's the magic formula right there.
So when you boil it all down, what these little books really are? are tools for empowerment. They're the bridge that takes you across that huge gap between just wanting to know something and actually understanding it. They turn that little spark of curiosity into real, solid knowledge.
So I guess that leaves just one last question, and this one's for you. What door do you want to unlock? Now that you know there's a map in your pocket, what complex, intimidating, or just plain fascinating topic are you finally going to dive into?